always from the heart of the city, and now on demand 24/7 on the CHFI website. This is the soundtrack to being alone on a beach. And I'm Don Jackson, around the world on the internet. Anne Morrow Lindbergh, in Gift from the Sea, wrote, "One should lie empty, open, choiceless as a beach, waiting for a gift from the sea." Let's you and I take a walk along the shore, alone, together this hour, with Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. The Honeydrippers, On the Sea of Love, and Norah Jones, and Don't Know Why. The background music is from the soundtrack to the second season of the hit ABC television series Lost. It's called Hurley's Handouts. You might remember the late-night scene on the beach when the character Hurley hands out the provisions he found in the hatch. You're listening to Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Where I live, I can't say that we've really had a hot summer. The weather's, in fact, not been very pleasant so far, but we still have some summer left. I love the beach in summer. I've never been enamored of crowded ones where you feel like you can't stretch out for fear of ending up on someone else's towel. If that's all that's available to me, I'd much rather travel miles to find one that affords a little privacy. I consider myself something of an accomplished beachcomber, and the words of Anne Morrow Lindbergh seem to speak to me. Maybe they will to you as well. This hour, some excerpts from Lindbergh's Gift from the Sea. She writes, "One learns, first of all, in beach living, the art of shedding. How little one can get along with, not how much. One does not need a whole closet full, only a small suitcase full. And what a relief it is." Some excerpts this hour, as well as some personal thoughts that certain beaches inspire. With Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Richard Marx, Right Here Waiting, and Elton John's Tiny Dancer. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Mary Forcell, a contributing writer in the July 1994 issue of Victoria, said this in an article that featured excerpts from Lindbergh's Gift from the Sea, and I quote, "Once famous for the flying expeditions she took with her husband Charles, Anne Morrow Lindbergh is admired today for her reflections and profound love of the sea, celebrated in her memoir, Gift from the Sea." Unquote. Lindbergh wrote, "It's a difficult lesson to learn, to practice the art of solitude for an hour, or a day, or a week." Unquote. And I agree. I think that's the reason why a week is never long enough for a vacation. It takes us a few days to unwind from the pressures we're trying to escape. And then, just as we have finally mastered the art of relaxation, becoming comfortable in our solitude, it's time to return to the rat race. And just as it is important to vacation together if you're part of a couple, sometimes it's also necessary to wander away by yourself to be alone with your thoughts. What you need to do is to make sure that your mate doesn't misunderstand your need for solitude. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Rod McEwen, from the CD based on his best-selling collection of poems called Listen to the Warn, we heard I Live Alone. Diana Krall with Narrow Daylight, and Bob Seger, and I Wonder. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Anna Quinlan in the New York Times wrote, I took long walks at night along the beach, composing bad blank verse and searching endlessly for someone wonderful who would step out of the darkness and change my life. It never crossed my mind that that person could be me. Anna Quinlan in the New York Times. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. The Commodores and Sail On, Rod Stewart with This, and Kool and the Gang, and Cherish. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. I'm Don Jackson. When I'm on a holiday on a beach, say somewhere in the Caribbean, I look forward to wandering off on my own from time to time, scouring the beach for shells and trinkets. You know, I guess I'm secretly hoping that I'll find treasure washed ashore from a sunken shipwreck. We have shipwrecks right here in our own Great Lakes. Before my children were born, my wife and I snorkeled in the warm waters off a major resort in the Caribbean and found our own gift from the sea, left in reeds in the shallows following a tropical thunderstorm. A queen conch shell of tremendous beauty, a perfect specimen to accompany other delicate shells and treasures that we have from around the world. This is a writing from the Private Time column of the August 1989 issue of Glamour, and I thought it the perfect end to a day on the beach. And I quote, the perfect spot, flat, smooth. The sand is still cool, just out of reach of the incoming tide. The warmth of the sun blankets bare bodies. The sand is soft and wet and malleable between toes that rhythmically burrow in, then smooth back the sand. Foaming waves crash one upon another, tumbling children. Patient warriors, they encroach, then retreat, slowly, steadily, making their advance. Gulls gossip and chatter amid strains of the top 40. The squabbling of siblings, the shrill sirens of the guards. Two forms race headlong, water into the water, their joy splashing up around them. They skip among the waves and dive beneath the swells. Dolphins, reveling in the buoyant pleasures of water. Rolled cuffs slowly traverse the shore, stooping to appraise a shell, gather up beach glass. The sun-bleached sky deepens into sapphire, with a stirring of white along the horizon. As the sun's heat fades and softens, and umbrellas are drawn, limp towels shaken and squared, damp books retrieved, the tide edges homeward once more. a perfect summer's day draws to an end. Unquote. Another writer's gift from the sea. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. Chris Ria on the Beach. Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. I'm Don Jackson. Mary Forcell writes, and again I quote, "Though she savored solitude, Anne Morrow Lindbergh also cherished the reunion with loved ones at day's end. Evening is the time for conversation, for sharing, for communication," she wrote. Unquote. And I think that's why the radio show was always so well received by listeners. Evenings were meant for intimate sharing. Anne Morrow Lindbergh also wrote, "I waited far down the beach, soothed by the rhythm of the waves, the sun on my bare back and legs, the wind and mist from the spray on my hair, and then home, full to the brim with my day alone." Anne Morrow Lindbergh in her bestseller, Gift from the Sea. Solitude is the precious time we devote to the needs of ourselves, and it makes the return by day's end something to look forward to. With Lovers and Other Strangers from iTunes and CHFI.com. I hope you'll tell all your friends about Lovers and Other Strangers. Good night, sweet dreams. I'm Don Jackson.